Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Productive C#. In this video, I'm going to talk about top-level statements in C#9. Here, I have Visual Studio and a console application targeting .NET 5. This application contains the main method inside the class program, and that is printing hi followed by the first command line argument that is passed when you call this console application. If I run it, you can see that this is printing hi Andrea. Top-level statements is a new feature introduced in C#9 that allows you to write simple program like this one in a much more compact way, removing effectively all of the boilerplate code around the actual business logic that you want to write. This is an amazing feature for teaching C# to new people and also for writing very short console applications without worrying about having to write the actual main code. Let me show you. What I can do in C#9 is just simply removing all of the code around the console write line, and I can just use system.console without even using the using statement and basically have the same exact code written as a single line of code. That is pretty amazing. I can still build and I can still run the code, and it's effectively working exactly in the same way as before. But now the code is just a single line. I can show you what happened under the covers. Nothing magic. The C#9 compiler simply generates the program class and the main method automatically for you, and is adding inside of it effectively the code that you provide inside the file. There is no magic here. Some magic is simply that the args variable is automatically available, because effectively this is the argument that contains the command line arguments. So this variable is always available when you use top-level statements in order to access the command line arguments. And now I want to show you what actually this feature allows you to do and what are the limitations. Because this code is effectively added inside your main function, you can return status codes as you would normally do in console application, and this would still perfectly build. Then, however, there is a question that you might ask. In C# 7.1, Microsoft added the ability to have asynchronous main. Basically, you can have your entry point of the console application asynchronous, so you can use async directly inside the main. So the question is, can you use async when you use the top-level statements? And the answer is yes. So let me quickly show you. I'm gonna do an await. I'm gonna create a new HTTP client, for example, and I can do. Let me resolve that. It's requiring systemnet HTTP, and I'm do a get async, and I can pass an URL. Let's say Google. Okay, and let me remove return. So this is basically some code that does an async HTTP request, getting the response from google.com and printing it to the console. If I run it, this works. It's effectively doing the request and getting the HTTP response back. What happened under the covers? As you can probably imagine, what happened is that Microsoft compiler simply generate an async method for you. So it's creating the program class, and then it's creating the asynchronous main using returning task. And obviously there is all the normal code that is generated when you use async and await. So you can definitely use async and await inside this sort of application. But you can do more. You can even create functions. So let's say I want to create a function that print some text, right? Instead of using system console write line all the time, I could just do console write line text. So I have a simple print method, and I could just use it here and pass hi here. I don't need the using statement anymore. So I can create functions, and I can reuse the functions inside the top-level statements. If I run this code, it's gonna print hi. Obviously I haven't passed my name here. This effectively still works as before. but now I've defined a function. So what actually does the compiler under the covers is basically creating a private static method for you inside the program class, and then is calling it directly inside main. An important thing I want to say is that you are not allowed to make this method public. So if I try to make this public, you get a compilation error. So you can't create functions and then reuse them in other files inside your projects. This method here are only scoped to main, effectively. Only the main method can actually use these methods. There is something more you can do that might not be immediately obvious. Let's say I want to say my name has a variable here, right? And instead of using args, I'm going to use my name. But instead of passing the name directly here at the print method, I'm going to actually use my name directly inside the print method here. So let's say I do something like this. So what the C# compiler is going to generate in this case? So we are creating a variable name that we are using inside the method, inside a particular function here. So what the compiler is going to generate in this case? It's effectively working as you would expect. So hi Andrea is still printed. Let's have a quick look at what the compiler does in this situation. You don't necessarily need to know these details. It's just I want to show you so that you can understand what actually happened under the covers. What happens is the compiler is creating a private struct and then passing the struct as a ref to the new method print that you created, and then is using the name from that reference struct. So it's automatically changing the signature of the method, the function that you created, in order to pass any captured local variables that you created. Okay, you don't need to worry about these details, but this is what the compiler does for you. There is more that you can do. Can I actually create classes? You can. Let's say I want to create a person class. Okay, I create a person class with a name property, right, and a constructor that take name and assign the name to it. You can do that, right? So instead of now creating the name here, I'm going to create a new person, and then here I'm going to use it. Does this compile? It does. So you can create as many types as you want inside a simple program using top-level statements. And what happens under the covers? Pretty obviously, the person type is going to be created inside your assembly, and you can reuse it whatever you want. And you can even wrap these new types in a space. Let's call it my. So you can do that. You can have a namespace and put some types inside the namespace. Of course, you need to use the namespace in order to use it. Okay. So this feature is fairly powerful. You basically can create simple programs without worrying about creating classes and the main method. Just type some C# code, create your variables, do some printing to the console, input and output. You can even create your own types and functions that you can use in your code. Effectively, you have kind of a sort of scripting language, but using C#. Another important thing I want to mention is that, of course, because at the end of the day, what it's creating is a program class with a main method, you can't have two files inside the same project. Let's say I create a copy of program and I call this program 2. I can't have two files using top-level statements in each, because if I compile, even if I kind of remove the duplicated types and I try to build, the compiler is gonna not be happy because it's saying that only one compilation unit can have top-level statements, because you will create a project with two mains that obviously not possible. Okay, so this feature can be used only inside a program, so that you can, at the end of the day, have a single main statement. So this is effectively what I wanted to show you. Top-level statements is a feature introduced in C# 9 to allow you to create very simple programs in a very compact way, sort of as a script language. The main scenarios for using this feature is for teaching C#, so new people learning C# don't need to worry about understanding classes and mains. And the second main use case is when you want to write a simple console application, just to write some code and test it out, or write a small utility class, a utility console application. Just write straight the C#. Don't worry about creating a main method. The compiler will add it for you automatically. And top-level statement support pretty much everything you might expect. Functions, types, you can use async and await. You can take input from the console, looking at the arguments, and basically you can do whatever you would expect that you can do inside a main method inside a console application. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching.